Hey grade sixes, welcome to our slideshow on order of operations, the order in which you can do different problems. Now today in class I gave you a problem and I told you the fact that I'd gone into a store and all of a sudden these blinking lights start flashing around and everything else, and the store clerk comes running up to me and says, "Wow, you're the 1 millionth customer. Here, have a $1 million shopping spree." And I'm yupping and yapping and cheering and anyway. But the thing was, she said, you have to solve this skill testing question. So she gave me this question and you saw it there at the top and you dealt with it. And it was amazing. I mean, we have 7 groups in the class and all 7 groups came up with different answers. And oh, some of you had really good reasons for how to explain it and everything else, but what is the right answer? How do we come across the right answer? Well, when I considered this question, I looked at it and I thought, okay, well, if I do it in order, then I got 24 minus 4 equals 20, okay, and then I would do 20 times 4 equals 80, and 80 plus 6 equals 86, 86 divided by 2 equals 43. So the answer would be 43, and some of you actually came up with that answer. Well, sorry, that's not right. Maybe if I did it in a different order, maybe I could do 4 plus 6, and that gives me 10. And then I would do 4 times 10 equals 40. Next I would do 40 divided by 2 equals 20. And then I'd be left with 24 minus 20, so the answer would be 4. And some of you got that, and guess what? It's not right. Oh. What's another way I could do it? Well, what if I did it backwards? So I'd have 6 divided by 2, forgive my little division sign there, I get 3. And then I have to say 4 is the next one, plus 3 gives me 7. Next, 4 times 7 equals 28. 24 minus 28? Well, how can you take 28 from 24? You end up with a negative number, minus 4. And guess what? Wrong answer again. So if you look at this, you can have all kinds of answers. 43 could be right. Maybe you picked B and 4. Maybe you picked C, 83. Another group had that. Maybe you picked 7. A group had that. What about 11? Or I'm sorry, 100, or even 11. There's all kinds, and there's more answers you could get. But what is right, and what do I pick? Well, you have to go to something called order of operations. And the first thing we're going to deal with is, let's think about this logically. Which operation should have a higher priority? Should it be multiplication or addition? I just want you to think for a minute. So pause the video and we'll just wait for a second for you to come up with an answer. Multiplication or addition? What makes sense to have a higher priority? Do. Okay, you paused it. Good. And the answer is... Come on, balloon. The answer is... Where'd my balloon go? Get out of there. It's multiplication. That's right. Well, multiplication is higher because if you look at it, you would just have 10 times 5 would be an example versus 5 or 10 groups of 5. 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. Keep going on. Well, obviously 10 times 5 is a neater way to put it. So it makes sense that when you come across an addition question and a multiplication question, multiplication should get a higher priority. Well, let's look at another one. What about which operation should have a higher priority? Subtraction or division? I want you to think about this one as well. And what do you think should be there? So I'll wait a second. Okay, have you got an answer? You paused the video? You're sure? Subtraction? Division? What is it? Well, click the balloon, and it's division. And hopefully most of you got that. And if you did, this is a salute to you. Hooray! That's right. Division is a little more complicated than subtraction, so it is a higher priority. So in a question, if you get a subtraction and a division, you do the division first. Even if the subtraction comes first in the question, you do the division first. Well, let's look at another thing. What this comes down to, I'm going to give you a word to memorize it by. It's called bedmass. B-E-D-M-A-S. And you got to memorize that. Bedmass, bedmass, bedmass. When you go to bed tonight, say to yourself 10 times, bedmass, 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 etc. You got to know that word. And let me tell you what it stands for. This is the order of operations, the order in which you do a question. So the first one, the B, what do you think it stands for? Do, 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 do. Well, if you guessed bracket, you are right. If there is a bracket in a question, that always comes first, above everything else. So for example, if you had 2 times 3 in a question with a bracket around it, it doesn't matter what's around it. That comes first. It's always the brackets first. And if there's 2 or 3 brackets in a question, then you do them in the order that they come, from left to right. What would the E stand for? Well, this is something we don't really do a lot in grade 6, but you will get into in the later grades, and they're called exponents. Can you say that? Exponents. Okay, and what it is it's sort of a power number. So this would be 2 to the power 3, or 2 to the exponent 3. And what that means is that there's 3 2's that are multiplied against each other. So like here, 2 times 2 times 2. You know that 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. So 2 to the third, or 2 to the exponent 3, is actually equal to 8. And as I said, you won't see a lot of those this year, but you gotta know that exponents is the second highest priority in order of operations. Can you guess what the D stands for, or the M stands for? Pause the video if you want to think about it. Do, 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 do. Do you have an answer? I'm looking at ya. Okay, you do. Good. Because you're probably right. It's division and multiplication. And division and multiplication actually are tied in the order of operations. We just put D and M in that order because it spells bedmass. It would have been BEMDAS, and that might sound like something you don't want to stew up for supper. So anyway, do it. It's DM, but it's in the order in which it comes. So if you've got 2 times 3 divided by 3, you would do the 2 times 3 first, because it's multiplication left to right. Multiplication first, then division, but you do them in the order in which they come. So that's why they're both in the blue lettering, because they're tied. They're treated equal. And finally, A and S, you probably guessed it. It's addition and subtraction, and they are tied as well. So you treat them as equal in the order in which they come in the question. So B, E, D, M, A, S, bedmass, brackets, exponents, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, bedmass. That's what you need to know. So how does this apply? Well, let's look at a question, and I've got my bedmass written down here to look at it. So do we have any brackets in this equation? No. So you don't have to worry about it. Do we have any exponents? No. Do we have any division or multiplication? Well, yes, we do. So that's what's going to be first. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write out my question, and I am going to take the ones that are going to the question that I'm going to do first, and I'm going to underline it. So in other words, I do the I write 16 minus 2 times 3, and I underline the 2 times 3 because the 2 times 3 is the multiplication. It comes before the subtraction, so I'm going to do that first. So then I would write it out like this: 16 minus 6. You always write the rest of the question and your answer for that. So now we've only got one operation left, and we basically underline it, okay, because that's the one we're going to do next. And we've got 16 minus 6. Well, you don't need order of operation because there's only one, and your answer is 10. So that's how you would write out that question according to order of operations. Write the question first, underline the operation that you do first, then you write it out, underline what's left, and you answer the question. Let's do a little more complicated question here. Now, I got my BEDMAS there, so I'm referring to it. Do we have brackets? Yes, we do. And the first step is you write the question out, okay? And by writing the question out, you want to underline the part that you're going to answer first. So the first thing you're going to do is brackets, and that's 6 minus 4. So ignore the fact that you can see the answer. Da, 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 da. And you're going to underline that part, okay? And that tells you that that's what you're going to answer in the next part. So you write 12 plus 6 minus 4 times 5. And so the second part, we just write the rest of the question, 12 plus, and then we replace the bracket. We replace the part that we've underlined, and we answer it and put it into the question. So instead of 6 minus 4, we go 6 minus 4 is 2. So we answer with a 2 in the question, and then we just write the rest of the question. So that's just times 5. Now we're down to 2 operations. There's no more brackets, there's no exponents, there's no division. Oh, there is a multiplication, so that's what we do next. So we highlight, or we basically underline that part of the question, and we know that that's what we're going to answer in our third step. So number 3, we write out 12 plus, because we write the rest of the question, and we replace the part that's underlined with the answer. So 12 plus 10. And then when you get to that part, you really don't even need to underline because you've only got one operation left. So now we've got our answer of 22. The third question is back to our original question, and now the answer. Okay, what would be the answer to get me $1 million shopping spree? Well, we write down BEDMAS on the side. Are there any brackets? No, there are no brackets. Are there any exponents? There are no exponents. There is division and multiplication, and remember we treat those together at the same time, but we do them in the order in which they come. The multiplication will come first, the division is second, so we'll answer that first. Now I'm going to let you stop the video for a second, and I'm going to see if you can solve this problem, the $1 million question, and see if you can answer it. So I'll wait for a second. Okay, you got it? Good. I hope you've got an answer. Let's go through the steps and see how it goes. So the first thing we do is we write our question out. Then we know that we do multiplication first based on our BEDMAS. So we highlight, we underline. Okay, so now we know that we're going to replace the 4 times 4 with an answer. So we write it out and we write the rest of the question. So 24 minus, the 4 times 4 is 16, so we put that down there. Then we write the rest of the question, plus 6 divided by 2. Okay, now what do? No brackets, no exponents. Oh, we do have division, so that's the next thing we have to answer. We highlight or we underline that if we're writing it out. And we go to the next step. We write the rest of the question, 24 minus 16. We write that in there. Now we substitute the answer for 3 there. Now we're left with a subtraction and a division. We go down our BEDMAS and we see that addition and subtraction are done in the order in which they come. So the first thing we're going to do in this problem is we'll do the subtraction because we read from left to right. So we'll do that first. So we'll highlight that, underline it, and we'll substitute for what is underlined. We'll substitute that with the answer, which is 8, and 8 plus 3, lo and behold, our answer is 11. And if I had answered 11, I would have got that $1 million shopping spree. Oh well, I should have listened better in my order of operations class. Okay, so we've got brackets, exponents, that's the next one, division, multiplication, addition, subtraction, and BEDMAS. That's what you need to know in order to set it up right. So practice that. We look forward to applying it in the morning. Have a good night.